views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. Tonight it's the debate for the Democratic primary in the 13th Congressional District, a district that includes the Bronx neighborhoods of Norwood, Bedford Park, Van Cortlandt Park, Kingsbridge, and University Heights. This accounts for approximately 150,000 constituents. The 13th Congressional District has been held by retiring Charles Rangel for 46 years. And so on Tuesday, June 28th, there will be a Democratic primary that will feature 9 candidates on your ballot. There are 9 candidates running, 6 of whom are here, and you will meet them in just a moment. The first candidate is Sam Sloan. He is a publisher and an elite level chess player. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sloan. Outgoing Congressman Charles Rangel has been celebrated by many in his district for more than 4 decades of service, but he was also found guilty of breaking 11 congressional rules related to personal finances and fundraising efforts for City College. What would you emulate from outgoing Congressman Rangel? And while presumably you don't support the activities that led to his convictions, what else do you reject in his performance and you would do differently?
Well, I was actually working with building managers, and I was disappointed at what Rangel did because he had 4 rent-controlled or rent-stabilized apartments, and everybody knows that you can only allow to have 1 rent-controlled apartment. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we have a housing crisis in New York City. We have people who are abusing this rent control and rent stabilization by occupying the apartments or on the other hand, leaving them vacant so that people can't live there, or they just warehouse apartments. So this is a serious problem. I'm really disappointed Mr. Rangel would do that. But nevertheless, he was a good congressman for a while. Towards the end, I think he should have retired a little bit earlier than he did. He was a fluent speaker of Spanish. That's one reason why he was able to run successfully against other Spanish-speaking candidates. So I think on balance, he was overall probably a good congressman. But at the end, I think he was good to retire, actually, at this time. I more or less agree with what everybody else said, that he was a good congressman on balance. He was there for a long time. Should have retired a little bit sooner than he did. Did some very good things, and at the end, he sort of marred his legacy by doing some things which were obviously ethics violations, especially controlling rent-controlled apartments, which he's definitely not allowed to do, and things like that. So that's all I can say about him.
As we have established, part of the 13th Congressional District is in the Bronx, and it was already mentioned that Mr. Rangel did not have a district office here. Characterize the Bronx sections of the 13th Congressional District, and what are the issues you will address specifically on behalf of the people of the Bronx if you are in fact elected?
Yeah, I am the only candidate who actually lives in the Bronx now, not sometime in the distant past 50, 100 years ago, but I live here now. I live in the Morris Heights section. My apartment overlooks across Bronx Expressway. I'm the only candidate who has children attending New York City Public School in the Bronx. And so I don't have to promise to open an office in the Bronx, which Charles Rangel never did, by the way, because my office is in the Bronx right now. So I don't have to go anywhere. Since I live here, I'll be the most dedicated person trying to take care of needs of people in the Bronx.
We all know the borough of the Bronx was largely built on the backs of immigrants, and to this day is defined by its rich diversity of people from all over the world. Yet, across the country, there is a wave of non-support for immigrant agendas. There are no clear rules or policy on deportations, border controls, citizenship attainment, and the like. So how do you fix America's immigration policies? Of course, keeping in mind there could very well be a Republican majority in the House that's not exactly ready to play ball with immigrant agendas coming from the other side of the aisle, much less from the boogie down Bronx.
There are people who have actually been here a long time, can't even speak a word of English yet. It's pretty amazing. A guy who tells me who's been here 30 years can't speak even ningún palabra de inglés. But here's my solution. My solution is everybody who lives here and can prove they live here should be entitled to an ID card and should be entitled to a driver's license if they can pass the driver's test. This will do 2 things. This will get everybody an ID card because that's what they really want. They want an ID card. They want people to know who they are, because right now, unless you have a green card, you can't get an ID card. You go down to Division of Motor Vehicles, you got to have 6 points to get a driver's license. And one time I went there and I had to renew my license. I couldn't get 6 points myself. I finally got the 6 points, But eventually, it was a hard time. If it's a hard time for me, imagine how hard it is for other people who don't have, you weren't born here and everything like that. So I think everybody should be entitled to have a driver's license and an ID card. I'm not talking about citizenship, anything like that, but at least they should have a basic documents.
What criteria should voters use to decide which of the candidates here and the other three that they should support?
I think that I disagree with everybody here on when you finally get down to the nitty-gritty and start looking at things. But one thing I am true, if anybody looks me up and finds out about me, I'm a fighter. I fought a huge battle against the United States Security Exchange Commission. I beat them in the United States Supreme Court. I fight battles all the time in various causes that I believe in. I'm doing things every day. I published 2 books today before I came down here to the studio. So you know, I'm a very active person. I dare say that I've gotten more done in the last month than all the people here combined have done in the last year. If you don't believe me, you think that's an exaggeration. By the way, I'm willing to play everybody here a blindfold game of chess. I'll keep my eyes covered and not be able to see the board and make all the moves and still win every game.
Give Mayor de Blasio a grade.
Failed.
Who'd you like to see Hillary Clinton select for a running mate?
Nikki Haley, even though she's a Republican, she's a Sikh, a member of the Sikh tribe of India, the people who wear turbans all the time, and governor of South Carolina.
The Bronx Borough president recently released a report touting more than $9.4 billion in development. But we've heard from Bronx communities across the board that while they applaud development, so many are scared that they will be priced out, whether in their residences or in their small businesses. With the spirit of development alive and well here in the Bronx, in many cases, it's going to fall on Congress to provide support for new housing and new business development. How do you develop the Bronx without gentrifying it?
I'm not opposed to gentrification. I think it's this is a natural development. New people come in, old people move out, prices go up. But Bronx is filled with and Manhattan is still filled with abandoned buildings, empty lots that need developed. They're sitting there for years and years, 30, 40, 50 years. Sometimes nothing's been there. And that's why we have a problem, a shortage, because there's so many rules and regulations stopping buildings from building. And I think just let the supply and demand come in and take over, and then we'll have plenty of housing here as soon as people are allowed to build.
How well has President Obama done in fighting terrorism? If you are elected to Congress and had a meeting with the next president, what would you advise him or her?
Okay, I've been to 78 countries of the world. I speak about 15 languages. And I can tell you that these wars will never end. I'm very familiar with the situation over there. I'm very sympathetic with these poor people. They rape young girls and things like that and kill young boys and so on and so forth, and terrible atrocities. But we have no business there. We've got to withdraw our troops there, let them fight and kill each other. They've been fighting each other since 632 AD, by the way, and they're not going to stop. And we just simply have no business being over there. We've got to bring all the troops home, get out of there completely, let them fight and kill each other forever, but just keep our boys safe back here at home defending our own country.
Across the country, there is a dialogue about the burden of college tuitions and loans. Do you favor forgiveness for some loans? If so, what do you say to lenders who put up that money originally? Also, the Bernie Sanders campaign favored the notion of free tuition for community colleges. Is that a good plan?
When I went to the University of California, Berkeley, and it started in 1962, my tuition, that was the #1 school in the country, I just want you to understand. #1 school in the country, the tuition I had to pay was $81 per semester. Later on it went up. When they elected Ronald Reagan, it went up to about $4,000 per semester. Now I think it's $50,000 or something like that. The problem, this whole thing started when Congress passed a bill to make it easy for students to get student loans, and then all of a sudden the colleges raised their tuition. Unfortunately, we're in a quagmire. There isn't any solution. I do want to mention one thing that teachers have told me, that they are teaching students math, and they cannot even figure out how to do 1/2 plus 3/4 equals 1 1/4. They can't do that, and they're taking college math classes. The reason why they're taking college math classes is because they get a student loan. They can live off the student loan. They can't get a job, so they're taking a 3rd grade math at the college level just so they can get the student loan. I mean, there has to be some limit. You can't have people taking student loans who have got no business being in college. You can't even graduate from high school.
Thank you. The final word?
Well, yeah, basically, this is a huge problem. This is one place we all agree that people get out of college who owe $50,000. How are they going to pay back this $50,000? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And they're not learning anything in school either because the school standards are very low. They want people. It's a business. School is a business, and people are paying tuitions using their student loans, and so the schools are running like this school here, where we are right now, is where my wife. By the way, this school here, where we're in a school.
Lehman College.
We're actually in a school right now, but actually the tuition fees are very reasonable here. So I recommend everybody should go to Lehman College because this is one of the cheapest places you can go to, and you still get a legitimate degree and legitimate education.
I think they'd be very happy to hear you say that.
Yeah.
We've come to the point in our program where each candidate will have 1 minute to deliver a closing statement. By prior agreement, it will start at this end. So, Mr. Sloan, you're first.
Okay, yo soy el único gringo aquí que puede hablar español. Es muy importante porque except for Mr. Powell here, nadie de estas personas que puede hablar ningún palabra de español. En este distrito tiene 45% de people que viven aquí puede hablar español. So I'm going to be the representative of these people because I can speak Spanish pretty well. I'm not perfectly fluent, but I can sort of get along. And by the way, I want to mention that I have 3 children in the military. I have my daughter who served 4 years in the war in Iraq as a United States Marine. I have another son in the military in the United States Marines, went over to Iraq, and the last son is in Afghanistan right now in the United States Army. So that's why I'm especially interested in bringing all our troops home.
And we thank the candidates and make sure you vote on June 28th. Good night.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.